This episode is brought to you by our friends at Brooks Blooms, your all-in-one landscaping solution.
Brooks Bloom's three-step landscaping experience offers a seamless journey from design to construction and ongoing care, ensuring your outdoor space thrives year-round.
Visit brooksblooms.com today to embark on your landscaping journey, where every step is a step towards a vibrant and beautiful outdoor entertaining space.
This podcast is presented by Tab. Best time in sport with the best app in sport. Tab, we're on. G'day everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Ads and Dunks podcast. And as always, joining me on the line, my best mate down in Melbourne. It is cold, I have heard. How you going, mate? See no jumper on?
Oh, the heat is blasting, mate. So hence why I don't have the jumper on. But no, it officially, obviously, what is it, the third, 2 days ago, went to official winter. And we've been blessed with some good weather the last couple of days, but now it's officially freezing and raining. So ain't nothing like a Melbourne winter, mate. How are you going?
Oh, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Today was about 23 degrees and sunny up here, so can't really complain about that. But it's been a good week for us, obviously coming off a win Thursday night against the Bombers and then having a few days off. So it's been nice to be able to relax a little bit because we actually played 3 games in 11 days, if you count like the days that we had off. So to get a couple of good wins in that was really important for us and nice to be able to relax off the back of it and, you know, heading into a big game this Friday night, which we'll go into a bit later. Yeah,
that's a lot of footy. And not only this week, you've got a really tough month of footy ahead for you boys, really good test to see where you're at. This is really random, but I had a thought today that for some reason I was a little bit like, how come I don't have a little segment on the podcast when you've got the what is it? The curly questions at the end. So anyway, I was thinking, I was like, you know what? Going forward, I'm going to ask you, would you rathers? So anyway, I'm going to start off.
Okay.
I'm going to start off with my segment. Would you rather? And I was going to tell you over the phone today, but I thought, you know what? I'll surprise you on the podcast. So this is a ripper. This is a ripper. Go. Would you rather to start? And at the end, I also want Brado to chime in. All right, I'm going to start with this. Ready? Would you rather always have to use sandpaper as toilet paper, or always have to use hot sauce as eye eardrops?
Wait, eye eardrops or eardrops?
Eye or eardrops, either one, mate. So if you're eardropping or eye dropping, you're using hot sauce. If you're wiping your, you know what, you're using sandpaper.
Oh,
what a ripper to start.
That is a good question. I'm probably taking the sandpaper, bro, and just going a bit soft with it.
Oh, geez, Louise, how good. And I'm not answering, so thank you.
Oh, what a start we've had there. That's good. Good by
Actually, you know what? And we'll do, this is the first again. Can we please get Brado on? Brado, you've got to answer that right now.
Yeah, I think sandpaper is the dumbest answer of all time. You're going to be walking around stinking like shit with your little rashed up asshole. You got. How do you have to do the eye drops and eardrops every day, or is it when you need to do them?
It's only when you need to do them.
Oh, happy days! That's me because I've never need to use eye drops or eardrops, and I'm gonna have a clean butthole, and then we got Dunks over there. Jeez, you're gonna stink, mate. That's gonna stink so bad, and even if you were like, nah, I need to not stink today. I really need to not stink today. That's pain. You won't be able to mask that. That's actually, ouch.
I've got a thought. So if you're like, you know, wiping, but what if you just jump in the shower and clean yourself in there?
Well, there you go.
Yeah, what happens if you ever leave the house?
True that. So what if you're taking a shit in public?
Well, you don't. You just wait till you get home.
You just got to hold it all the time.
You know what? If I'm at Adzy's house, I'll just go and have a shower.
You know what? Because we've got that off to a ripping start, I'm going to ask one more. Would you rather? Ready? Would you rather? This is the tough one. Pry off your thumbnail with a fork, or put a toothpick under your big toenail and kick a wall? That would kill. Oh, that would hurt. Either one would hurt.
Oh, I think the toothpick one would be easier to do.
Brado?
Yeah, well, logical. What a toothpick is one prong. A fork has four. So you got to jab a fork in, little fork. It's got to be like one of those little olive hors d'oeuvre forks.
Oyster fork.
Little oyster fork.
One of the small ones. Yeah,
that's probably 3 prongs then, isn't it? It's probably 3 prongs on a fork that small. But I don't know how you could bring yourself to do that. But the one kick, you could do it. You'd probably pass out with the pain. But trying to do the fork thing, I don't think you could actually achieve it.
Josh, I love how you just kind of answer, but Brado gets real technical and he's like,
these things are serious. These things are very serious. If someone's asking you to do that.
He's thinking about prongs and bloody forks and knives. And
going forward, I'm going to ask maybe 1 or 2 a week. So we may as well move forward, mate. But I'm glad you answered my questions.
Good segment.
Yeah, great segment. I'm sure the fans will love that segment. All right, moving on, mate. How was your week? What have you been up to? You had a bye. Fill us in.
Yeah, the week was good. So we had basically the 4 days off last week, as I said, came in and trained on Friday, which is basically like a main session / game running. And then had the weekend off. So pretty low key, mate. What did I do? I didn't do much. Went to Hawke Hall for dinner on Saturday. Haven't been there since we started this whole rating system thing that Kim and I are doing with our restaurants, and hit the spot like always. The beef and black bean like noodle dish that they do there that I think Lara loves the most. I think that's her favourite one. The reason why I say that is because I remember the first time I went, she said, make sure you get that. And it's my favourite one by a mile. So nailed it. Went there on Saturday and Sunday. Boys had another win. Our under-17 boys had a good win. Our full forward kicked 10. Kicked 7. Yeah, he did. Caleb will love that, and he'll be listening too. So he kicked 7 in the first half and then kicked 3 in the second half. But we were taking him off a little bit. And then when he kicked his 10th with about 5 to go, we took him off so he can just rest on the bench and enjoy his 10 goals. So, we had a really good win, and now we've got the bye this week for the 17. So, that was basically my week, mate.
So what do the boys do now with the bye this week? Do they go away, get on holiday, or they just keep going to school and have a weekend off?
Nah, school. But so we train Monday, Wednesday. So that won't change. We'll have a bit of a harder session on Wednesday, which is good. But yeah, I feel like the coaches, myself, Mick Peaver, Rashad and Cooper, give them a shout out. We're really having a really positive impact on the boys in terms of, not just obviously what they're doing on field, but we're trying to set like a semi-professional setup for them over the 3 days that we get them a week. So I'm really excited about, the next couple of weeks, the rest of the season, because what I'm going to do, and the boys don't know this, but they'll know when they listen to the potty, is we're going to do some team building exercises. So we're going to do stuff where I'll put all the names on a ping pong ball, I'll put it in like a bag and we'll pull out one of the names, and the coaches are involved as well, and might ask him a question about footy, might ask him a question about just their personal life, whatever it may be. And just really take him through some stuff that they can not only improve as footballers, but just as men, really. And really enjoying it, mate. It's been, as I've said to you over the phone and on the potty, like it's been my saving grace this year. Like I've invested so much time into these kids, and they're like my second family now. So I know myself and the other coaches are getting such a great kick out of getting out there and working with the kids. So, and when I say kids, most of them are 17, so they're basically young adults. So, getting a great thrill out of it. But to answer your question, they're just going to train and then maybe have a group breakfast on Sunday.
Yeah, nice. That'd be good. It's obviously great to hear that they're going well too, mate. So I'm sure the boys are up and about and big fans of the podcast. So well done to the lads, and hopefully they keep winning for the rest of the season.
I hope so too. And again, I'm giving a huge shout out to Brooke, as she just messaged you and I saying the jumpers have been organised. So I'm going to make sure I get a big team photo for the boys, because they've been pestering me every single session. Caleb, Noah, hoodies. Cooper, they're asking me for the hoodies. When are the hoodies coming? I said, they're coming, mate. They're coming. Relax. So thank you, Brooke, for sending that out. We love you very much.
Yep. Well, speaking of Brooke, we might as well jump into our Brooks Bloom of the Week. Obviously, as you said, thanks to Brooke for all the support she gives us. But what do you got this week, mate?
My Brooks Bloom of the week is NBA related again because we're getting down to the nitty gritty, and it's Pascal Siakam. And reason being is, firstly, it was so freaking funny seeing Tyrese Halliburton.
Yes, that was funny, man.
I think he was winning.
That was so funny.
Oh, mate. So my Brooks Bloom of the week goes to Pascal. I seen this thing today. If Pascal were to win a chip this year, he arguably has a Hall of Fame career, and I totally agree. Totally agree. He's been underrated his whole career. He was a part of that Raptors team that won the championship in 2019 and Eastern Conference Finals MVP, and now leading his team to what could be the first chip in the history of the Pacers. So, here's my Brooks Bloom of the week. What about you, mate?
Yeah, well, I was pretty much the same, mate. I was going to have mine as the Indiana Pacers because I just feel like the way that they've come through this final series has been incredible, and everyone, wrote them off, mate. No one's really backed them in from day dot, and the depth that we've talked about it over the weeks on here, like the depth that they've got in the team and in their squad is incredible, and they all just stand up in different moments. And Tyrese, like Halliburton the other day in that game, like he didn't score really until the end of the game, like that last quarter. And the game was already over. So clearly there's so many other guys in the team that are doing the heavy lifting when he might not be able to impact, but he's still, assisting and that kind of thing. So the team performance for me is what's so impressive. And I honestly think that they'll give it a shake. Like I'm really thinking that they're going to take game one as a bit of a shock.
Hey, mate, I don't think they'll win, but in saying that, I've said that every series, literally from the first round matchup against Milwaukee Bucks. So I'm going to stick with my gut feel, but I agree with everything you said. And the thing that impresses me the most is I think they have the highest scoring bench in the league. I could be wrong, but I think they have, or one of the highest scoring benches in the league, certainly in the playoffs. But from a defensive point of view, I feel like they match up well on the guards for Oklahoma. So SGA, obviously Jalen Williams. So it's going to be an interesting series. Can't wait for it to start.
Yeah, me too, mate. Me too. Next, moving on to our tab segment of the week. So we'll flip over our microphone heads. This week, we've got an interesting one this week. We're going to change it up because we've been a bit unsuccessful in the NBA ranks the last couple of weeks, mate. So we're going to change it up this week and head into the Queensland racing this weekend at Eagle Farm, which is actually headlined by 3, I'm fairly sure, Group 1s, which is going to be awesome because it got rained out last week. And we're going to do a bit of a place multi-ads.
Yeah, we are, mate. As you said, obviously it's I think they're calling it Super Saturday because there's a lot of group racing, not only in Queensland, but there's a couple across the nation, which is really exciting. But as you said, we're going with a bit of a place multi. I'll start. I'll go the Queensland Oaks. I'll talk through that one. So I'm working through the field here in the Queensland Oaks, and a name that jumps out to both you and I straight away is Jenny's Meadow. So believe it or not, when we were talking on the phone earlier, Joshy was obviously, we're going to do this, and I'm talking to the audience here, as I've said, Joshy. But Josh has said to me, give me a Queensland Oaks tip. And basically, you've said Jenny's Meadow. I've gone and had a look and gone, mate, I don't see how Jenny's Meadow doesn't win. So there are some good horses running. Obviously, the favourites always Filler. How do you pronounce it? Filler?
Not sure.
Well, anyway, that's the favourite. But Jenny's Meadow's the one for me. I feel like it's just had some good racing. The last couple starts has raced really well. I feel like the distance suits. So I'm going – you and I are both going with Jenny's Meadow.
Yep. We're going to get on Jenny's Meadow to place in that one. And then in the Queensland Derby, we're going to go on King of Thunder. Both another – we really both like this horse as well. So we'll go a place in that one as well. And then in the last one, the Kingsford Smith, we're going to go on Giga Kick. I think Giga Kick's going to be too good and be right up there. And yeah, it's going to be a fantastic race. I was actually there on Saturday to watch that race that didn't run. So fingers crossed, all of those horses, as we sit here on Tuesday evening, they all get up and are ready to go on Saturday because that place multi is paying currently $11.75, which would be awesome. But as always, ads, gamble responsibly. And all the best this weekend in Queensland racing.
Good luck. I'll be eyes tuned on it, mate. I'll be watching vicariously with you, mate.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
On to the footy. It was, I think it was the first round of buys from what I can see. Yep, it was. It feel like that. It felt like I was waiting around a little bit to watch some games. I guess we may as well touch on your game to start, and then we'll get into it. It was a bit nervy, mate. Very nervy, to be honest. I thought they were going to run over you for a second there. They had a blistering third quarter, and then, they just looked like they had all the run, all the momentum. What was your take from the game?
It's hard to sit back, and I think the biggest thing these days with footy and life in general is, the messaging that generally is out in the public through the media. You can start to, I guess, buy into it if you read it too much and it's around you, and you go to the local coffee shop and it's like, oh, why didn't you win by more? Like, you're expected to win by more, that kind of thing. But for us, it's about making sure that we can control inside the four walls. And, I think, you look at the game and we probably missed a lot of opportunities in that second quarter to potentially put the game out of reach of the Bombers. So they would have gone into halftime thinking, oh yeah, we're still a sniff here. Like, they haven't kicked away. So they're still up and about. And I personally felt like they used that momentum that they had in their minds in that third quarter and just attacked the game in the way that we really couldn't defend. So although it was disappointing that we allowed them back into the game, mate, they're a good team. They're a good young team. Every AFL team these days is, as we always talk about, if you're off a tiny little bit, 1-2%, then the other team will beat you. So it was nice from our perspective that we were able to, I guess, fight back and get the momentum back on, in our hands and into our game. And I thought we finished strongly in the last quarter. But yeah, I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but I guess the parties that you just got to make sure that you continue to learn week in, week out. And, if you look back to the Melbourne game, they ran over the top of us and we didn't respond. Whereas this one, they ran at us, they gave us a lot, and then we responded and were able to win the game. So it was a good learning curve for us, and yeah, we'll take the 4 points.
Yeah, you're right. You've got to look at it from a positive, and I couldn't agree more with everything you said. You obviously spoke about how, why you might have the general fan say, like, how come you're not beating a team where are they on the ladder? How can you not beat a team who's sitting 10th by more than what you did? How come you let them, come closer to what they probably shouldn't have by the way that you guys started? Because obviously it was 6 goals to nothing basically at quarter time. So you've nailed that on the head with, people have got to understand that the competition is so damn even. Like, even over in the West, I know they didn't win, but they pushed, West Coast Eagles pushed Geelong, who were 5th, basically right until the last quarter. And whether Geelong are off or whatnot, they still gave the Eagles a chance. So I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. I certainly feel like it was another one where you boys are, we got the job done in the end. We were obviously good enough to get the job done. We can build off that and attack what is left. Well, not left. You've got 12 games to go, but attack what is going to be a really challenging month of footy ahead for you guys.
Yeah, and you sort of touched on it. Like, we now are in a really good position to spring into the second half of the year, and we've laid a foundation that, yes, we haven't played the best footy at times, but we're still playing good footy. Like, it's not like we're the expectation is up here because of last year and the years before that. But clubs these days, you sort of go through a season, you don't really want to be peaking right now. Like, you want to be peaking at the end of the year when it really matters. And that's what happened to us last year. We started the average from a win-loss point of view, but we're actually playing really good football. So statistically, we were actually pretty good. And no one knew that because the media were just saying that we were shit, essentially. Like, because we were 4-6 and 1 draw at the bye.
Yeah.
So this year, like, we're actually 9-2-1, and they're saying that we're still average. So it's a bit like, well, we're 9-2, and I feel like we're in a good position to, as I said, get ready for the next half of the season.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And you know what it's like, mate. Media, obviously, I guess in fairness to them, you guys weren't going great mid last year. So I don't really blame him for, I guess, having a crack at you guys. But that's the extra motivation you guys might need. And I was going to touch on, like, I feel like that's probably where a team like Sydney are at, because I wanted to ask you, as a player, if you were at Sydney, like what challenges you reckon they would be going through right now as a playing group, as a player? For a team, first, let me finish. As for a team that has expectations on them, they obviously made the grand final last year, and going into this season, they were one of the red hot favourites to be right up there in the top 4 finish. And I'm saying this with still 12 games to go. By no means am I, and I know you're not, writing them off, because their footy is as good as anybody. They almost beat you, obviously, in round 1 or whatever it was. So what challenges you reckon they'd be facing right now as a player, if you were there?
Oh, mate, I think their game on the weekend was similar to ours against the Giants last year in Canberra. Like, we got smashed in that second half against the Giants, and I remember talking to you after that game. We talked about it on the podcast as well last year. It was around, that was probably one of the weirdest moments in my footy career. And you don't really know what to think. Like, there's just all this grey, and you're not sure, why this is happening, what's going on. You don't want to point fingers because you're all in it together. So It's a matter of, really looking at the vision and backing in your coaches to help you out and get it all sorted. And I think once you galvanise the group from that point, and then, look to move forward and little things, 1 or 2 things that you can improve week in, week out, then that then helps you, build the trust again and galvanise, as I just said. So I just think that that's what they'd be looking to do. I saw that they went down for a beach session, which I don't know how many beach sessions you've been for, mate, but I've been through a couple of those, and they are torture in the middle of winter down in Melbourne. But I'm sure their group would be looking to do as much as they can off field to make sure that they're all, happy and still enjoying the life, because that's the hardest thing. I think when you're losing and, like they lost on the weekend, you can really look away from, not enjoying yourself. And I think that's the most important thing at the end of the day.
I couldn't agree more. And the reason why I asked is because as I said to you off air, I had a footy appearance today, and kids ask you, like, what's wrong with Sydney? Why aren't Sydney going so well when they were obviously in the grand final last year? And like, it's a good answer, firstly, and it's a good perspective, because I feel like you guys were kind of in that situation this time last year, and obviously they're getting written off big time by the media, and you guys basically the same. So, as always, I have no doubt whatsoever that they will bounce back and they will play good footy and have a period where people will be talking about them highly. So, am wishing them all the best with the rest of their season. But anything else catch your eye? Actually, before I lose track, I wanted to give huge amounts of love and support to Callum Ward, who hurt his knee against the Giants, and that was one of the most emotional moments that I've actually watched, and I got quite emotional watching, because Wardy's obviously an ex-teammate of mine. I spent 5 years with him, and honestly, mate, one of the greatest human beings I've ever come across in my life, like not just footy-wise, as a human being and all his values that he stands for and everything that he is as a player, as a person, as a father, as a husband. He's just one of the great human beings I've ever met. I wish him all the best with the knee, and I just wanted to give him as much love as possible, because again, he's just a champion of a bloke and a superstar player, and one of the greatest, if not next to maybe Toby Green, Jeremy Cameron, like the greatest Giants player in the history for the footy club, and will go down as an all-time great for them.
Yeah, I second your words, mate. I haven't had a lot to do with him on a personal level, but I'm sure from, like, I see it from afar, how much he's loved and embraced by the players. So to see that speech that he did at 3/4 time as well, that essentially probably got him over the line in the end, because it was so humbling, and just the boys would have known at the time that he's probably done his knee too. So it's a sad way to potentially go out of the game, but I'm sure he'll be filled with love, and everyone will be supporting him along the journey.
Yep, I hope so. Anything else catch your eye?
I just wanted to talk about just quickly before we move on to next week is I saw today Harley Reid. They're saying that his buy-ins improved a lot over the last few weeks at West Coast, and I agree with that. But I'm like, is this just another story that they're trying to single him out again and say like he hasn't been buying in, but now he is, and now look how good they're going? Do you think?
Well, firstly, is the buy-in reported by the club or is it reported by the media?
No, the media. The media was saying that it looks like he's buying in a lot more at West Coast. I saw a little snippet today of something.
Well,
I'd say
if it's the media, I'm going to say that I guess it's just another story around him. I mean, another story that's kind of like irrelevant because I've got no doubt whatsoever that his buy-in has not changed from the start of preseason to now. Maybe it's just because his last couple of weeks has been pretty good. He's played some good footy. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Seems like you've got a pretty strong opinion on it.
No, I don't have a strong opinion. I just wanted to talk about it because I saw it today and I just thought, well, like, are we just trying to pick the eyes out of this thing again? Like, I feel like the way that he's playing his footy, and he's been pretty consistent all year. Like, I feel sorry for the guy because he just gets scrutinised whatever he does, and he's finally potentially playing some really good football for the team, and he's still getting scrutinised for buying in. You know what I mean? Like, it's to me, I just feel sorry for him, and I want to take my hat off to him because I feel like what he's done so far in his young career has been really impressive, and some of the moments that he has in game are insane. So to see him play well again against the Cats the other day was good.
Oh, mate, he's a star. He showcases that. He's obviously playing for a team that's only won one game, so he's not going to really get the positive side spoken about when you're obviously not winning. So wait till he's winning and his team's winning. Like, he's going to get a lot of recognition because he does some things in the game. Even the goal that he kicked to be involved in 3 passages of play is like absolute superstar for a very long time.
Yep. All right, let's move on to our Bloom and Dunklaw Award.
Oh yeah, let's
go. Have you got your votes, or do you want me to go first?
Oh, you go, mate. I've always got mine ready, but you go.
All right, I'll go first. My one vote this week is going to a guy that played in a losing team. Mm-hmm. Can you believe that?
Not really. I mean, if it's the Brownlow medal, not at all, because it doesn't matter when come Brownlow night.
No, so this week it's going to a guy from Richmond who has recently come back, and that's Dion Prestia. I think he makes their midfield and their team a lot better, and he straightens them up a lot. But the way that he played against the Giants, and they were in front of that game for a long, long period of time, deserved to probably win it.
Yep.
I just wanted to give him a shout out and give him one vote from my votes this week. My 2 votes goes to Steele Sidebottom. I think he's just having an unbelievable year. Again, showed why he's, arguably All-Australian this season so far. And, the Pies are just flying, which is insane. But my 3 votes then went to Wanganeen Millera from St Kilda Football Club. I think the way that he's playing as well, obviously out of contract this year, heavily publicised, but I wanted to get around him because he's one of those players from the Saints that every time you play against him, you want to shut down, and he's playing some ripping footy. So they're my 3-2-1 this week.
He is a superstar, Wanganeen Millera. He lives straight away from me, actually, which is cool. I run into, I see him a couple of times. I couldn't agree more. He's a star. Same as Dion Prestia. It's great to see him back, and he's obviously missed a fair chunk of the season, and he looked unreal, mate. To miss that much and come out and have the impact he did speaks volumes of him as a player. But for the first time, I think we've actually got 3 different players, which is great.
Nice.
So my one vote goes to Brian Myers. He when you give him time and space, mate, he will destroy you. And he was unreal on the weekend. He's my 1 vote. My 2 votes goes to another Collingwood player, but it's not Steelo, although I wanted to put him in. It goes to Jamie Elliott, who I just think is All-Australian forward. He's never been All-Australian, so he's a lock for All-Australian. I'm kind of hoping he wins the Coleman. I love watching him play. He's one of my most enjoyable players to watch. He'd be top probably 5 for me. I just think he's a superstar. And my 3 votes goes to a St Kilda player, and it's Callum Wilkie. I just thought he was outstanding. I felt like he took a ton of marks. Not that I've seen. Let me have a look. Because yes, he has. He's taken 15. Jeez Louise, he's taken 15 marks. Just seemed like he really, obviously he's been a very underrated player for a long time now. But when they're at their best, the Saints, he is intercepting. He is, just being real assertive down there. And you see in the games they've won this year, he's a big part of the reason why they win. And Melbourne certainly kicked their way out of it, kicking 1 goal, 12 or whatever they did in the third quarter. But he was certainly a big reason why the Saints won. So Callum Wilkie's my 3 votes.
Yep. Love that. All right, let's move on to this week's games. Before we actually haven't announced it yet, but we're getting a guest on shortly, which is going to be a great chat. But we'll go through this week's games quickly before we move on to that. So yes. Start us off. Your game's Thursday night, mate, which we'll touch on. Then ours is Friday. So we'll go Saturday. Richmond versus Swans at the MCG. Big game for Sydney.
Isn't this crazy? This is where you are. Isn't it crazy come round 1? I just think everyone would have gone, yep, Sydney are going to win. But I'm going Richmond off what I've seen. I'm tipping Richmond. I obviously Sydney will bounce back. And they have to bounce back, and I no doubt they will. But that doesn't mean Richmond won't play well. And I just think, I think Richmond play like seems like they're. How many games have they won? They've won 3 games. It seems like they've won so many more. Don't you reckon? They just feel like they're playing such better footy.
They've been in a lot of games that they've lost that everyone would now see that they've lost. But to be in games until essentially the last quarter is pretty impressive, and their young group's just going to be learning from those games. I'm going to go against you though. I'll tip Sydney because I just feel like they'll bounce back. They'll do it in a big way. I feel like they're going to do it quite convincingly and show the mature team that they are. And on the MCG too, it'll give them a lot of confidence moving forward.
Yep. Geelong, Gold Coast, GMHBA.
I'm going to tip an upset here. I think the Gold Coast Suns will go down to Geelong and get it done.
Jeez, this is 4th v 5th. Geelong have a game in hand. Gold Coast have a game in hand. Wow, this is a great game. Oh, I can't go against Geelong. They're dominating at the moment. I'm going Geelong.
The next game is Giants versus Port.
Another good game. Port need a win. I think the Giants will be too good at home. Yeah, I think the Giants will be too good at home.
I agree. Sunday, 3:20, North Melbourne versus West Coast Eagles in Bunbury.
Oh, is that where it is? Hands Oval. It's called Hands Oval in Bunbury. Oh, yeah, that's right. North get a couple games in WA this season. Remember, a couple home games.
Yep.
Well, basically, West Coast don't have to travel too far either, which is good. Well, you know what? In that case, I'm going to go the Eagles. I'm going to go the Eagles in Bunbury.
All right, I'll go against you and say North Melbourne. Carlton versus Essendon at the G on Sunday night. It's a cracker.
Oh, this would be great. Hopefully it's a monster crowd too. Carlton need a win. I'm going to go Carlton. Carlton, the arch rivals. Being a kid as a Carlton fan, I was obviously a huge Carlton fan. Couldn't stand Essendon. These were great games to watch. So I reckon the Blues will get it done.
And then moving on to Monday in the Big Freeze game. Oh, sorry, did I get my tip there? I didn't get my tip there. I'll tip the Blues as well. Sorry. Monday, moving on to the Big Freeze game, which is obviously for a great cause that's close to many out there and everyone involved in AFL football. It's very close to all of our hearts. But it's going to be great to see a massive matchup. I think the Ds will really want to bounce back against the Pies at the G on Monday. But I think Collingwood are going to be too strong, mate.
Yep. So Big Freeze 11, I second everything you said. I played in 4 of these games and they were very right up there with Anzac Day and how special and grateful we were to play in those. So these are enormous game, and I know both Melbourne and Collingwood would well, certainly don't take these for granted these days. I agree with you. Oh, sorry. Wait, who'd you say? You said the Pies, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. Melbourne will take it up to him, but I just can't. I literally, for the rest of the season, can't bet against Collingwood. I think they'll be too strong. 5 extra points, mate, if we get the Neil Danaher trophy, because that's the best on-ground trophy. So the Neil Danaher trophy, who you got?
All right, so I've said Collingwood. I'm gonna go with a roughie, and it's gonna be Ned Long.
Oh, he's been outstanding. I'm gonna go obviously a Collingwood player. I just don't want to say Nick or Josh Dacos, or I'm just gonna say
choose someone wild, mate.
I'm gonna say Steele Sidebottom continues his form.
Ooh,
and he wins it. Wins the Neil Danaher trophy. So Steele Sidebottom's my pick.
All right, we'll move back on to our games now. And Thursday night is a massive matchup between the Doggies and the Hawks. Adsy, you're potentially back, mate?
Hopefully, obviously, get the all clear tomorrow. I'll let you know. I'll send you a text, mate, as I always would. But in all seriousness, the game obviously is a big game for us. We obviously had the week off, and Hawks haven't, and they've had 2 really tough games. No doubt they'll be disappointed. Even after the game on the weekend, Jack Inovan obviously said they're going to bring their mouth guards and, really bring the contested side, which they do anyway. So, we I guess know what to expect. We know how good of a team they are when they get to play free-flowing footy and how they want to play. So, we just have to play the way we've done majority of the season, albeit we are 6-5. We're obviously not the finished product, and we're not, we don't internally rest on our laurels, if you want to call it. We're obviously always striving to get better and whatnot. So it's a really good opportunity for us. Hawthorn have had the wood over us, mate. They smacked us last year in the final. They beat us last year throughout the year when they were, I think, 1-7 at the time, or maybe 1-6. So they've had the wood over us a little bit. So it's going to be a good game for us, but no doubt it'll be a cracker, and the boys are really getting up for it. We had a really good session yesterday. Looking forward to the game on Thursday.
Yeah, it's going to be a cracking matchup. I'm looking forward to seeing how it all goes around the footy, mainly because I feel like if you can, beat the Hawks around the ball, it definitely gives you some momentum into your forward line. The way you're speaking, mate, it's just very mature. Is that the sort of feel that you have amongst the group at the moment at the club? Like, is it a bit of a mature, we know they're going to bring the heat because they've said, it's been heavily publicised they're going to have a tough week on the track. Like, do you think that that's changed over the last, 12 months in terms of what to expect and that matureness amongst the group?
Yeah, definitely. It's a good observation. Yeah, I certainly think so, yeah. We've got a great mix of guys, all different ages, all different experiences, experience level, I should say. And I feel like there's certainly a quiet confidence, but there's an expectation. And that's where the group's at. And as I said, there's no secret that Hawthorn are going to come out and they're going to rectify the last couple of weeks. They obviously quite convincingly lost last week to Collingwood after quarter time, and then obviously you guys were too good for them at the MCG. And as I said, they're going to bring it. They're going to bring the heat, and we know that guys like Newcomb and Warple and Nash inside, who I don't know what the stats would tell in terms of broken tackles and whatnot, but they're probably the best in the game. They are so good at it, and they've got us there every time we've played them. Every time we've played them, we've gone in knowing that they want to take you on, they want to use their hands, and we've let that beat us when we know that we don't want that to beat us. So, we've just got to come with the edge that we've come with in most of the games this year, and just really attack them head on from the get go. And I'm looking forward to it, mate. There's always a good turnout between the Bulldogs and Hawthorn crowds, and it's really a great spectacle to be a part of. And as I said, I'm looking forward to the game. Hopefully we can come over the 4 points.
Love it. Looking forward to watching it myself on Thursday night before we play Friday night. We might as well touch on that quickly before we get our guest on. We play the Adelaide Crows at Adelaide Oval on Friday night, which is going to be very similar to yours, mate, in terms of build-up, and I'm sure it's going to be a packed house at Adelaide Oval. So really looking forward to the challenge, getting down there and, playing against a team that's in red-hot form and arguably probably, aside from Collingwood, probably the two teams that are flying in the competition at the moment. So no better way to challenge ourselves against the best and see how we go. But really looking forward to this contest. And, I feel like, as always, it's going to be one around the contest in general on the field. But if we can win that and get the ball moving forward quickly and give our forwards a look, then hopefully that goes a long way to helping us win.
Yeah, it's going to be an unbelievable game. I can't wait to watch this. I got no doubt you guys would know that. I could be wrong here, but I don't think you've gone to Adelaide and won often, have you? I think, from memory, they've outside of obviously the gather round. So when you've played Port and when you've played Adelaide, I'm not talking gather round.
We beat Port there last year.
Maybe it's just the Adelaide games. Anyway, my point is, no doubt you've definitely got that in the back of your mind because you know it's going to be very hostile for you boys. Obviously when Adelaide and Port Adelaide are firing, the crowd, mate, they are a brutal crowd. The South Australian fans, they love their footy and they really they let you know. It's fair to say. So must be something that you're expecting as well.
Oh, for sure. And we like to think that we thrive in that environment because we are such a close group and, we like to feed off that energy ourselves and make sure that, essentially when we keep them quiet, then that's a win for us. So fingers crossed we can start the game really well. There'll be obviously times in the game that they get some momentum and the crowd will be cheering them hard. So we're just going to be able to, arrest that momentum. As I said, we did with the Bombers last week, like that kind of learning and that kind of growth is what we're going to need this weekend to play against a formidable team in Adelaide.
It will be a huge challenge for you guys. And I feel like whichever side wins this game, and hopefully it's you boys, it's going to be a real momentum driver for you guys going forward because, as you said, mate, two of the informed teams of the comp and Adelaide could arguably say they're going as well as what the Pies and you boys are. So good luck, mate. I'll certainly be watching. Can't wait.
Thank you, mate. All right, we'll move on to our special guest, who is a guy that I've been doing some work with up here in Brisbane. His name is Dimitri Stephanov. So we'll get him on after this break and, make sure you stay tuned. All things Brisbane property or Queensland property. So stay tuned. All right, Adzi, as I mentioned just before the break, mate, we've been very fortunate to be joined by Dimitri from PMC Property Buying and Management, I guess you should call it, mate. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Two businesses. So we've got the buying business and then also the property management one. So, they sort of work in tandem.
I love it. Couple things for me, Dimitri, and welcome is firstly, thank you so much for having a headset on and actually connecting because I think all of our guests have actually just gone off their phone and it's kind of just been like a loud echo noise. So well done in that regard. Secondly, I love the Jordan and James frame in the background. For those who can't see it, if you're not watching the YouTube clip, there's a sick frame of two jerseys in the background. So just a quick one. Who's your GOAT, Dimitri? I know you've already told me, but just for our listeners.
Yeah, it's got to be MJ. I think to your point, Ads, what he did in that era of the 90s is unparalleled. And, it was – I grew up in that era, so I was sort of like, a teenager when he was doing all that stuff. So, it was really cool to watch, and it's stayed with me ever since.
Yeah, he certainly is a GOAT. And thirdly, I wanted to say, because I actually haven't had the chance, thank you so much for helping Kim and I get our house up in Queensland. For those who are listening, they know that Kim and I have brought a joint up there and Dimitri was basically the main reason why we got it. So thank you so much. And thanks for jumping on the potty.
No, very welcome. And thanks for having me. I feel very honoured to be here. So thanks for inviting me on. Just so you know, I did go out and make a special purchase today. So this headset is brand new.
I love that.
Top of the range. I'm not sure how well the sound's coming through, but I thought, I'm going to go all out for this podcast. So there you go. Yeah.
No, it's perfect, mate. It's perfect. Hey, Ads, before we move on, I just wanted to say, Dimitri, talk about those two guys in the background that he's got there. We talked about NBA cars not long ago. this man has a few very, very nice NBA cards that we're looking to get graded and that kind of thing here, because I reckon some of them are worth an absolute fortune.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, well, being a '90s kid, I was collecting a lot of memorabilia and cards and stuff back in that day. So I've got a few Shaq rookie cards. I've got a few MJ cards. One of the MJ cards does have a signature on it.
No way.
So whether I don't know how rare it is. I haven't looked into the rarity or anything like that. But it's sitting in a shoebox at home, and I probably should put it in a safer place, maybe a safe or something, just in case it's worth a lot. But
get that sorted, Joshy, for him, please.
Yep, I'm on it. All right, we'll move on to the more serious questions. Dimitri, talk to us a bit about your business and where and how it operates.
Yeah, so PMC, we just turned 10 years old last year, so that was an awesome milestone, and actually to celebrate the 10 years was pretty cool. We all so we have a Brisbane team, and we have a team on the northern beaches in Sydney, so in Manly, and we also have an office in Newcastle as well. So they came up, we headed down, and we went to Elements at Byron Bay for 2 nights. So it was really cool to get the whole 40, 45 of us together, in the one place to celebrate the 10 years. We've come from very sort of small, humble beginnings, from 10 years ago to now. But, sort of what we've got now is a fully operating sort of buying team in Brisbane. We have sort of 8 specialist buyers agents that work in Brisbane. We are now on the Gold Coast as well, which is pretty cool because obviously the Gold Coast is definitely a hot spot, has been for a number of years. And we are also on the Sunshine Coast now as well. So, it's pretty cool. We've wanted to get into those markets for quite some time. I guess it's just about having the right people that you trust and can do what you need them to do. And so, we're sort of in those markets as well. But, we also have the property management business. So, we do a lot of purchasing for people, not only for homes, to live in, but also for investment properties as well. So, what we do in this business is structured to be able to help many different sort of types of people.
Yeah, certainly an amazing, remarkable job that you guys do, and you do a wonderful job. You mentioned obviously the 10-year celebration and having all the people and celebrating. One of those guys, was it Josh? Because I know Josh has done some work experience for you. How have you found the big fella?
Mate, to be honest, he's definitely got an eye for it. He would do very well at this job. He's definitely got all the people skills, but he backs it up with good knowledge as well. And I think he's got a thirst for learning as well. So he is definitely been a good learner, and he's definitely, in the small amount of time I've had to sort of spend with him, I think he's learnt a lot. And at some point, mate, if he ever wants a gig, I definitely think we'd find a place for him here at PMC. That's for sure.
Well done, Joshy.
Oh, you're too good, mate. You're too good. Too good to me. More serious question. I wanted to ask you about the market, and we talked about before you came on that you're going to be talking a bit about Queensland and the Brisbane market in general. But talk to us about what it's been like the start of 2025. Interest rates are going down. What's it all looking like moving forward?
Yeah, we've come out of a bit of a flat time or flatter market, I think. So, I think ads when you guys purchased was probably the perfect time, because that was in my opinion, sort of the calm before the storm. I guess if you think back to the last 6 to 12 months, there's been a lot of different things that has happened. You've had Trump get in power overseas, and all of the sort of things that were talked about with tariffs and things like that sort of sent shockwaves all over the world. We obviously also had a federal election here more recently, and we always come into a more subdued market when that's the case. In Brisbane, we've had weather events like that mini cyclone thing as well, and even prior to that, we've had 10 to 15 interest rate rises in a row, probably the craziest cost of living crisis that we've ever seen. And so all of those things has just mean a bit more subdued, flatter market. we've definitely, in the last 3 weeks since the election, almost you could draw a line in the sand around about the time of the election, and there's definitely been a big shift in sentiment. I think it was only a week or so after the election that we did see that interest rate cut. And I know even as a business, our inquiry has probably increased since then 20 to 25% compared to previous months leading to that. So, Brisbane, everyone knows Brisbane's got the Olympic Games coming in 2032. There's lots of opportunity in Brisbane for employment, for education. There's great schools here. There's universities. You've also got, I'm pretty biased being a Queenslander, but you've also got, the Sunshine Coast, places like Mooloolaba and Noosa and Caloundra, which are awesome. And then even, you head south into the Gold Coast, or even, Byron Bay is New South Wales, but it's only a 2-hour drive. So you've just got a plethora of different options. And so, yeah, I think, property's back on most people's minds and conversational pieces, and Brisbane, as a capital city, is looking really good at the moment.
You touched on before how you've expanded out to the Gold Coast, and as you touched on a bit of the Sunshine Coast as well. Do you have yourself personally? Do you have much dealings with that, or are you sole focused on the Brisbane market?
Yeah, so personally, Brisbane market. So the way that we sort of operate is that we've we've been lucky, and also we've done well to create a bit of a watermark of good client experiences, good outcomes for clients, and that's just sort of grown and kept us very busy and allowed us to grow a team. So my specific patch, and Josh and I sort of, when we do our work, it's in a very sort of small area, which sort of just is in around sort of where we both live, which is nice. And it just means that, when we are operating in those 6 to 10 suburbs, that we really get to know them like no one else. Like, we know which streets to avoid. If there's a few dodgy houses in a particular area, or where the flooding goes. In those areas, like, I could almost, with my eyes closed, tell you which streets and which areas flood, which don't. And so the people that we've got on the Gold Coast and all the Sunshine Coast, we're sort of, we let them do what they do there, because obviously they know that very well, obviously with the support, and, always here to support and help train and things like that. But that's the benefit, I guess, of having area experts.
Great answer. I feel like that is one of the most important things that I've noticed, especially working with you, Dimitri, is the fact that the knowledge that every individual has amongst their areas is next level. So it is amazing to see. What are some of the best opportunities out there, do you think?
Yeah, mate, I think building costs are still very high, and if you know anyone that has done a build or going through a build at the moment, or in the last 2 or 3 years, they're probably pulling their hair out and crying poor. It is so bloody expensive to build, and I've sort of maintained, especially for the last few years, if you can avoid building, avoid it, just so that you avoid all of that. So I guess what that means is, if you think about the homes that sort of sit in Brisbane anyway, and that sort of 2.5 to up from their sort of space. There's a lot of homes where people have gone through and they've spent the money, to get the plans drawn and engage a builder and go through the whole process. And, a lot of the times you can often buy those properties for lower than what the replacement of them is. So I guess what that means is, if you had to go and do all of that yourself and buy the land or buy the property and then go through the process, it could be $500,000 to $1 million more than just buying like a really good second-hand or established home that's got good bones. It's there, you can see it all, it's move-in ready, and it comes at that sort of discounted price. And a lot of these homes, they've been well loved. They've had a family in them that are sort of house proud people, and they don't really get knocked about the same way that some investment or tenanted properties can. So, often you can find a house that's almost like, it feels like it's new. It's been lived in for 5 to 7 years, and you can get it at a bit of a discounted price.
Well, you heard it here first, everyone. Don't be building in Brisbane at the moment. Josh is asking all the business side. I like asking a little bit more about you at the moment, Dimitri. Has real estate been something, I guess, you go through schooling and whatnot. Is it something that you were always interested in? Was it something that you wanted to pursue throughout your life?
No, mate, it wasn't. So, I was born and bred in Brisbane and did schooling and later on university here. After school, I sort of enrolled in university because most of my mates were doing the same, and mum and dad had sort of also been to uni, so I thought it was the right thing to be doing. And very quickly, I think within sort of 6 months, I was out of there. I just dropped out and didn't even tell them that I was coming back. And so I got involved with snooker. I actually became a snooker player, and something I haven't told you, Josh, that is a bit of a hidden talent. I actually represented Queensland at the Australian snooker titles. This is probably like 2000 and I want to say 2 or 3.
Well
and
done.
you'll have to look him up. But the bloke that won that competition's name is Neil Robertson, and he's probably, outside of one or two blokes, he's probably the greatest ever snooker player that's ever come out of Australia. He's played on the world stage, he's won world titles, and mate, he's seriously impressive. He's a Victorian, so there was a Victorian that won the snooker title that year. But I got really involved in that, and just near Suncorp Stadium, right next to Suncorp Stadium, where obviously you boys would know what happens there. Right next to Suncorp Stadium is a business called Q Masters, and it's a pool hall basically. It's got pool and snooker tables. So I dropped out of uni and I just became the manager in there, and got to know all the locals and became a bit of a pool shark. So no, and answer your question, mate. No, real estate was not on my radar at all in my sort of earlier days, and I think I just sort of came into it through buying my first property, which I was lucky enough. Mum and Dad were able to help me with getting a deposit together, which I think is a big thing for a lot of younger people these days. Getting that deposit together to be able to buy something and afford something it's often a really hard sort of task. But I feel very fortunate they sort of helped me with that. And going through that process of buying was where I sort of found my love or my interest in real estate. And so, re-enrolled as a mature age student. And that was interesting, being sort of like a 20, 24, 25-year-old guy going back to uni with all these 17 and 18-year-olds. You sort of feel like an old man, but it was really good at that stage. I ended up going from dropping out of uni to doing really well and hitting sort of distinctions and high distinctions, and the rest is sort of history from there.
That is very impressive, mate. I bet you were waiting for me to say, "Oh, let's just go play a game of snooker," and then he just wiped the floor with me.
I've let the cat out of the bag now, so
can't
do that.
You have, mate. You have.
Stay away from Suncorp, Josh.
We'll circle back to the more businessy questions. What are the hottest markets in Brisbane right now, Dimitri? You're well across obviously everything, but what would you say are the hottest ones?
Yeah, mate, I think definitely the unit and townhouse market up to say $1 million is like extremely like white hot. That's definitely like first home buyer territory now. Like once upon a time, first home buyer territory was 400,000 or 500,000 in Brisbane. It only sort of seems like yesterday that was the case, and a few years ago it was probably more like 600,000 or 700,000. Most of the properties we see now between 5 and sort of 600,000 or 700,000 in Brisbane are generally ones that are either flooded on a busy road or got some major issues with them. But I think anything in that unit townhouse space in a good area up to say $1 million, they're probably getting anywhere from 5 to 10 or 15 offers on those things at the moment. And certainly the housing market, entry-level housing market, up to probably 1.5 million. Again, because it's more entry-level, it's a little bit more affordable than the higher price points. I'd say if you're a buyer out there at the moment in one of those two markets, you're probably finding it very tough. And, I think it's probably only going to get tougher based on what we're sort of seeing out there.
I wanted to ask Dimitri, how much of an impact, or if there has been an impact, has the 2032 Brisbane Olympics, how much of that has that impacted to the real estate market at the moment, or has it had an impact, if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, mate, it definitely has. It's quite interesting how the media, puppet masters and can control people talking and sentiment and all those
course.
types of things. I know as soon as it got announced about the Olympics, your phone was ringing off the hook from all types of random people all over the traps. Local people from Brisbane or interstaters from Melbourne or Sydney, even people overseas. We want to buy a property in Brisbane. Brisbane's now on the map.
Mm.
And then, the shine came off that a little bit, the way that, what was going on with the Gabba, being one of the places where, the games are going to be held was held pretty poorly, and probably, in the same time, you've also got, the wars overseas and cost of living crisis and interest rates rising. So I think the shine came off it pretty quickly after it was announced because of all of those sort of negative or more negative things that were sort of happening.
Mm.
But more recently, the Liberal Party that has taken sort of power in government has released that Victoria Park is going to be like the epicenter of the games, and I'm sure Josh has probably got his own thoughts on what that looks like for Brisbane in terms of just, I think Melbourne's probably one of the greatest places on earth in terms of, having the G and Rod
Mm.
Laver Arena and
Yep.
is it Amy Park where the Storm
Yep.
play? And
Amy Park.
obviously
Yep.
you've also got, the F1 goes there once a year, like that little precinct in there, like it's hard to beat. And, it's probably one thing Brisbane does sort of lack. But, I think with what was released more recently, certainly, basically the next day I had a call from someone wanting to buy a property in Kelvin Grove or Hurston, which are the two suburbs that adjoin Victoria
Mm.
Park. And, since then, I've had a lot of people going, oh, should we buy an investment property around those areas because the Olympics are coming? So, yeah, I definitely think that, it's definitely had an effect. Certainly with interest rates potentially coming down, they're talking about rates coming down again a few more times
Beautiful.
this year, which will be good for everyone that's got a mortgage. I would expect that to sort of continue.
Yeah, it's going to be a exciting market over the next few years. I want to go back to you. You talked about one of the hottest items at the moment. He's up to that $1 million mark, and I want Brado. You're going to do a clip up for us here, mate, because I told Dimitri this morning that I want to do a clip where he tells us one property that's on the market right now up to $1 million. If you've got a $1 million budget, then this is it. I want you to tell everyone, mate, what you recommend that someone might buy.
All right, sounds good. All right, so this particular property, it's in New Farm. I think most people have heard of New Farm in some capacity. Like arguably, it's Brisbane's best precinct for dining, cafe, experience, nightlife, day life. It's on the river, so it's got everything that you'd want in an area. It's nicely connected to the CBD. You've got the river walk. Like it just ticks so many boxes. The property that I sort of mentioned in New Farm was a little 2-bed, 1-bath unit. It definitely falls into the boat of what I was talking about earlier of what is probably the hottest market in Brisbane. This is it. But it also probably represents like as good as you can buy now for entry level, like a good entry level investment probably is something like this. The actual property itself, the reason why I like it is that you'll see that it's just an older, smaller complex of I think there's only 10 or 12 units in the block. It's got no lifts or pools or gyms or common facilities. It's literally just a brick building and some common property around it. So from a maintenance perspective, future capital perspective, it's probably going to be a little bit less in the way of maintenance and cost and stress compared to some other things that we often see. And looking at the photos, you'll see internally like it's quite livable, very easy to stick a tenant in there. If you're a single person or a professional couple, or even if you're a professional couple with a young child, you could live in something like this. I think one thing that I have sort of noticed in the last 4 or 5 years in Brisbane is that the the dream of the white picket fence and the big backyard that most Australians do have in some capacity has probably changed quite a bit because prices have become as expensive as they are. And so, in Brisbane, we've always been about you buy a house, you get land. And I think if you can afford that, great. But unfortunately for a lot of Australians and people that can't afford a whole lot, then they have to sort of work out where they sort of stand and what they can afford. And, if you look at places like Sydney, Melbourne, other places in the world, like the likes of like a London or a New York or a Singapore, like a lot of people live in a unit, and they sort of utilize the facilities around that unit. To have a backyard and a house is, it's almost a privilege, I think, in the world that we live in today, where there's a lot of excuse my French, but there's a lot of shit going on in the world, and there's a lot of misfortune and things like that. So probably digressing a little bit, but back to this particular property, I think that it's in a great area. It's low maintenance. The median house price in New Farm right now sits at $3.55 million. That's just the average house price in this suburb.
Wow.
So that means that, you can often find a house in New Farm that's selling for between 5 and 10, $15 million. I'd say in the near distant future, we might even see results higher than that. And so I look at this and I go, it's in a great location. It's out of the flood. Some of New Farm floods. If you look at it on a map, you'll see that it's surrounded by the river. So you have to be a bit selective where you do and where you don't go here. And this particular property is out of the flood. And I think overall it's something that I would give the green light to if someone was asking me, is this right or wrong, or is this good or bad?
Well, there you go. You heard it here first. Dimitri's, if you got up to $1 million to spend, this is the address. It's 2/120 Langshaw Street, New Farm. So
Brado has that, mate. Yep. So Brado can do that.
Yep. Well, Brado can post it up somehow. But we'll wrap it up there, mate. Thank you.
I have no link to that property whatsoever, guys. So that's I've got no connection to the agent, the property whatsoever. That was just completely unbiased, independent view of that property.
Like it a lot. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Dimitri, thank you, mate, for coming on. We really appreciate your time. I've already given you some of our merch, so I don't really have much else to give you, mate. But thanks again for coming on. We really appreciate it. And Adzi, that'll do us for another week, mate. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Dimitri. Appreciate it. We've had a certainly different guests, if you want to call it, and it's great to have someone in your field, and greatly appreciate you spending some time with us. And hopefully people out there who are looking at the Brisbane market and listening to the Ads and Dunks podcast, they have had a great little insight. So thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me on, guys. It was really good. Appreciate it.
All right, Adzi, as you mentioned, mate, another cracking guest and different insight into, obviously life and what people think about these days. And it's great because real estate is so important.
Yeah, it is great. And we've got a lot of Ads and Dunks fans up there in Brisbane. So hopefully they have a nice little insight and get a little bit out of it. But my favourite time of the week, before we wrap up, getting Brado on.
This is great because I just need you guys, if you could do me one favour, if you could just do about 450 to 550 more podcasts a year. I might be able to get a deposit on that place that he was talking about, which is great. So I just come on here, I do a little pep talk. I say it's the greatest podcast in the world, and I reckon you could probably do about 30 more a week. So
no worries, mate. Easy.
If you could just turn up those numbers, then we could start looking at a little deposit before it pops over the million mark, because like he said, property in that little, what was it? New Farm. It'll be about 15 million next year. So I got to get in before it's too late. Or maybe I'll just get one in the flood zone. just get me in the flood zone. Maybe I might save a couple of dollars, but that was great.
Oh, good. I'm glad you got a lot out of it, mate. And if you want us to do another 350 episodes, Josh, we'll do another 350 episodes.
All right, Brado, we'll get it done for you, mate. We'll start doing some more potties for you so you can get that place in New Farm. But Adzie, once again, mate, thanks again for another great week. All the best if you're playing this weekend or Thursday night, sorry, and we'll see everyone next week.
Thank you, mate. See ya. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Brooks Blooms, your all-in-one landscaping solution.
Brooks Blooms' 3-step landscaping experience offers a seamless journey from design to construction and ongoing care, ensuring your outdoor space thrives year-round.
Visit brooksblooms.com today to embark on your landscaping journey, where every step is a step towards a vibrant and beautiful outdoor entertaining space.